Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are on page 137. And before we get started, for our problem of the day, we're going to review adding decimals. So here is our first problem. 7 5/10 plus 1 5/10 plus 2 25/100. Okay, so remember the main thing about adding decimals, the most important thing is that when I set up my problem, I need to line up all the place values, and the easiest way to do this is to line up the decimal. So I have 7 5/10 plus 1 5/10 plus 2 25/100. So if you notice, my decimals are all lined up. What else I like to do is I like to add all zeros to make this kind of create this illusion of this box. So I have 0 plus 5 is 5. 5 plus 5 is 10, plus 2 is 12. And 1 plus 7 is 8, 9, 10, 11. So our answer is 11 25/100. Okay, here is your problem to do. 6 9/10 plus 7 4/100 plus 8. Now if you're struggling, I'll give you a hint. Because this doesn't have a decimal, you're going to need to add a decimal. So think about where you could add the decimal that it doesn't change the value. Okay, so now that we've done our problem of the day, let's get started on our actual lesson for the day. So today's goal or objective is today I will write a division word problem as a fraction. So today I will write a division word problem as a fraction. Okay, so let's look at our vocabulary since we're in a brand new unit. Our first word says division, and it's sharing or grouping a number into equal parts. Then we have fraction, a numeric value that represents part of a whole or part of a group. And then they explain to us what the parts of division are. We have a dividend, which is divided by a divisor, which equals a quotient. Okay, we've talked about that in and out strategy before, so remember this one goes in, this one goes out. Okay, and then they remind us what a fraction is here. So 2/5, we have the numerator, which becomes our dividend, and that's because that one goes in and this one goes out, and the denominator is our divisor. So the in and out works this way or this way. And then we have a fraction bar, which this is the fraction bar. That's what the fraction bar is. So in 2/5, this bar is called a fraction bar, and it says it's equivalent to a division symbol. So it's 2 divided by 5. That's what that's telling us, 2 divided by 5. So we see here, the fraction bar, they did diagonal, but it's 3 divided by 4, so it equals 3 divided by 4. So it's the same thing. Okay, so that's going to be the big part of the lesson, is kind of learning this, that this is the one it follows. So 2 divided by 5 equals 2 divided by 5. It does not equal 5 divided by 2. It's only 2 divided by 5. You have to read it in that order. Okay, and I'm going to kind of show you why that's the case. So our steps today say we're going to represent as an equation. So we're going to write kind of the equation for the problem. We're going to draw a model, and then I'm going to show you how it relates the fraction to division. Okay, so here's my first problem, and it says, Manny has 5 mangoes. He wants to make 8 cups of fruit cocktail. If each cup has the same amount of mango, how much mango will each cup have? Okay, so I'm going to ask myself first, what's being divided? Am I dividing the 5 mangoes into the fruit cocktail, or am I dividing the 8 cups of fruit cocktail into the mangoes? So hopefully you see that I'm taking my 5 mangoes and I'm dividing them into the 8 cups of fruit cocktail. That's what I'm doing. So I have 5 mangoes that are being divided into 8. So I'm going to kind of draw this to show you. So if I had 5 mangoes, now I know mangoes aren't rectangular, but it'll be much easier to draw rectangles than to draw actual mangoes. So here's my 5 mangoes, and each mango I'm going to cut up into 1/8 to make sure I pass it out correctly into my 8 cups. So each one I'm dividing into 1/8. I like to do halves and then 4ths and then 1/8 to kind of make them as even as possible. Okay, so this is what's going to happen. I took this mango and I'm going to put this part in the fruit cocktail, and then this goes in the next fruit cocktail. Let me do a different color. And then this goes in the next fruit cocktail, the blue one. And then we put this in the next cup. And then we could put this in the next cup. And then we put this in the next cup of fruit cocktail. And then we could put this in the next cup of fruit cocktail. And then we put this in the last cup. So I took this mango and I divide it into a purple cup, an orange cup, a blue cup, and then I'm going to do the exact same with the next mango. I'm going to take it and I'm going to divide it up the same way into the same colored cups. So if you see what's happening here, if I did this with each mango, so I'm going to do it, so each mango I cut up, and as I cut it up, I pass it out into the different cups. So the next one I'm going to do all of them at the same time. So I'm going to put these pieces in a purple cup. I'm going to put these pieces in the orange cup. These pieces I'm going to put into the blue cup. These pieces go into the green cup of fruit cocktail. These pieces go into the red cup of fruit cocktail. These pieces go into the blue cup of fruit cocktail. These ones will go into the orange cup. And these ones will go into the lime green cup. So each mango I cut up into 8, and then I dropped it in the different cups. So if we think about it, how much is going to be in each cup? So the red cup gets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. But each piece is an 1/8 big. So it gets 1/8, 1/8, 1/8, 1/8, and 1/8. So it gets 5/8. The lime green cup of fruit cocktail gets 1/8, 1/8, 1/8, 1/8, 1/8. So it gets 5/8. So each cup of fruit cocktail gets 5/8 of the mango. So 5 divided by 8 is equal to 5/8, just like I kind of showed you over here. But this is why. So 5 divided by 8 is equal to 5/8. So if I had 5 things and divided it into 8s, that there would be 5/8 in each one. Okay, let's look at our next one. What fraction do you get if you divide the whole number 4 by 12? So if I had 4 of something and divided it by 12, well, this one I don't need to draw the model, so I could just do the same thing. Well, if I had 4 and divided it by 12, I would have 4/12, because 4 divided by 12 equals 4/12. Okay, let's try some. Okay, here is my first one that we're going to do together, and I'm on page 138. It says, Bob has 5 pounds of nails to build 3 identical dog houses. How many pounds of nails will he use for each? Okay, so I have to ask myself, is he dividing the 5 pounds of nails into the dog houses, or is he dividing the 3 dog houses into the pounds of nails? Be really careful when you do yours by yourself, because there's some tricky questions where it's a little confusing. So I know I'm going to divide my 5 pounds of nails divided into the 3 dog houses. So you probably can already guess what the answer is going to be, but let's prove it with a model. Let's prove this one with a model. So again, we know pounds of nails don't look like rectangles, but it's the easiest way. So 5 pounds of nails. Oh, I'm making them too big, huh? Here's my 5 pounds of nails. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And each pound of nails, I'm going to divide it, and I'm going to do maybe dog house 1, dog house 2, and doghouse 3 gets that pound of, that's how I'm going to divide that pound of nails. Then let's go to this pound of nails and do the same. Doghouse 1, doghouse 2, doghouse 3. Let's go to this pound of nails. Doghouse 1, doghouse 2, doghouse 3. And this pound of nails, doghouse 1, doghouse 2, doghouse 3. And then this pound of nails the same, doghouse 1, doghouse 2, and doghouse 3. Okay, so doghouse 1 gets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces, and each piece is a third big. Doghouse 2 gets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces, and they're each a third big. Doghouse 3 gets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. So 5 divided by 3 equals 5/3. And that's our answer. Okay, let's look at our next one together. This says, what fraction do you get if you divide the whole number 7 by 3? So 7 divided by 3 equals 7 divided by 3, which is 7/3. Okay, so if it asks you a word problem, I want you to prove it with a model. If it just asks you this, you could just write it. But I do want a model if it's a word problem, and I want you to pay close attention to what number is being divided, because again, there's going to be some tricky ones. Okay, you have the next 3 pages to try. Have a good day.